Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Jamesay Wamesay Show. Today I'm going to start off a little differently. A couple of years ago, I left a lot of fake Yelp reviews online, and eventually, Yelp, somebody must have complained at Yelp, and they deleted all of my posts. So about 9 months ago, I started some fresh ones. And I'm going to read them to you guys, and hopefully you'll find them amusing. All right. I printed these out on paper because I can't seem to access my Yelp account on my computer anymore. Okay, this is for a place called Dave's Diner. And I gave it 5 stars. I always give my restaurants a 5-star review no matter what I say. It's not fair to the shop owners to get a negative review, even if it's a fake review. So, in my opinion. All right, I don't even know where Dave's Diner is. First of all, I've never been there. All right. The first thing I did when I went into this quaint little diner was introduce myself. I'm Jamesay Wamesay. You must be Dave, I joked to a woman behind the lunch counter. With a deep, manly voice, she spit out chaw into a spittoon and said, "That's right, boy. I'm Dave." A busser behind me said, "I'm Dave too. In fact, we're all Dave." I smiled, letting out a little laugh. The dead serious look on his face stopped my laughter immediately. "Dave, you got a customer," he shouted to someone in the back. Out emerged a buxom redhead with gap teeth, the smell of onions emanating from her sunburnt skin. She kicked a chair in my direction and said, "What do you want? I'm busy." Sure enough, her name tag read Dave. I asked for a mineral water, and I could tell she wasn't impressed by my fancy request. She went in the back, and through the window to the kitchen, I watched her scoop dirty mop water into a cup and serve it to me. It was the best mop water I've ever had. 5 stars for all the days. So, that gives you an idea of the kind of stupid reviews I would leave. And then here's another one. This is a little shorter, but it does involve a little bit of knowledge of The Prisoner. I'm sure most of you have probably seen The Prisoner by now with Patrick McGowan. All right. This place is called The Village Farm, so you can see why I went with The Prisoner on this one. My friend Chad surprised me with a spontaneous trip here. This is how Chad broke it to me. Me. Where am I? Chad. In the village. What do you want? Information. Whose side are you on? That would be telling. We want information. 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 You won't get it. By hook or by crook, we will. Who are you? The new number 2. Who is number 1? You are number 6. I am not a number. I am a free man. I found some great gala apples there. I give them 5 stars. All right, that's so far all the reviews I have. If you think I should make more of these, just let me know in the comments there. I did have a lot of fun with them, but they are kind of difficult to think of new things to put down and have fun with. Okay, let's move on now. Okay, some of you have seen some of these pictures before. This is the one with the Max. Okay, and this is a brand new one. This one you haven't seen. This is actually Ash. This was a Joe Quesada and Jimmy Palmiotti creation from the 90s. If you ever want to get like an ice cream headache from looking at bad 90s design, check out any random issue of Ash. It has some of the horriblest fonts you'll ever find on anything. Now, the reason I'm showing you these 2 pictures These are actually going to Paul Biersack. Now, Paul Biersack is a fellow from Reddit. He really liked these. Now, he can't afford, well, he doesn't know how to use PayPal or Venmo or any of that thing. So he's going to be sending me a money order for an amount I won't disclose. That's kind of his business. So, but yeah, here's the envelopes that I shipped drawings that size in. And you'll notice I do put a sticker on every one of these. Even if they're not getting a comic book, it's still advertising. Even if it's just to your local post office. So I'm going to put these in there. I obviously didn't put Paul's address on there because, for privacy. And I'll be doing that right when this video concludes. Alright, there we have that one. Okay, and then I'll just show you some more pictures. I think you've probably seen some of these before, but not everybody's going to watch every video, so maybe you haven't seen any of these. Now, this one I had done for my old pal Schlepsig. He was the one who was doing the comic that was actually a stretched out joke of why did the chicken cross the road. And I remember he complained he thought that I was trying to outshine him with my art on this, but I think he is next level. He's really he was really a king. Rest in peace. Then I think this book was called A Game of Doubles, and it featured two twin brothers who were tennis stars. And I don't think this ever got used or printed in the book, but that's one of my old commissions from a long time ago. I think this is on 11x14 paper. Sometimes I like to work small, or I used to. I actually like working pretty big these days. So yeah, that's just kind of sitting here taking up space. Then a couple of weeks ago, actually probably about a month ago, I did a kick of Batman villains. I did one of the Joker. This is the only one that's in color as far as I know. I tried to draw a Batman, and this is one of my fails. I was trying to give that thing where you're kind of looking up at the guy, but he just looks way too silly and way too wonky. But everybody's got clunkers. I'm just gonna show them off just for fun. All right, the next one I did was this penguin. This is also 11x14, by the way. Here you go. I'm really happy with that one with the cross hatching. I really had a lot of fun. Now I don't know how popular the penguin is. I know the Joker is the go-to guy that everybody wants in their Batman stuff. And speaking of which, I did do a different Joker in black and white to match the theme of the other ones there. There you go. What do you guys think of that? Does he look menacing there? Ah! Alright. So that's just sitting here if anybody wants any of those, even though they're 11x14, they are up for sale. I've got envelopes of that size. I've got cardboard backers for the art to arrive at people's houses in great condition. That's actually it. I don't have any more art, but I do have. Well, here's my books as usual. These are actually new to my library. All right, this is Mad About the 50s. And then Mad About the 60s. I do remember these were at Barnes & Noble or maybe even Borders for the longest time. And then here's Mad About the Oscars. Now, I love Mad Magazine, and I think they have some of the best artists in the illustration field. If you don't want to just say comics, they're just fantastic guys. Let's flip to a random page in the Oscars book. Okay, this is not a title page, so let's see if anyone can guess what movie this is from. I'm not going to say. I haven't even looked at it that closely. Alright, here's another one. I think this is Mort Drucker. It might be Angelo Torres. Let me actually make sure of that. And once again, you guys feel free to guess as to what movie that is. Oh, that's actually Jack Davis. Wow, that's really cool. All right, one more flip here. I think this one's pretty obvious as to what movie it is. All right. And once again, I'm going to check because I don't want to credit the wrong artist like I did on the last one. Okay, that one is Mort Drucker. All right. So there's that book. Let me look at the other ones here. Let's go with that 50s one first. Here it is. Oh, yeah, no, and I got these really cheap. I got them for like $2 each. Like, I can't turn that down. My library, I got rid of quite a few books this week. We had a yard sale. I got rid of all my Essential Marvels books. It was like, I just wanted to get rid of them. They just take up way too much shelf space. So I let them go at a pretty, like, reasonable price. But that leaves me with more room for these Mad Magazine books. Alright, well, here's the beginning of the 50s stuff. As you can see, it's in full color at the beginning, as the old Mad comics were in the 1950s. Let's see here. Oh, here's a Batman and Robin parody. All right, and then shortly into the magazine's existence, they switched to the format we're all familiar with. You know, the magazines. And they're in black and white, but they obviously have those beautiful color covers. Now let's see what was going on in the 50s. Oh, this has got to be, what's his name? He does the chicken fat, Will Elder. I think this is probably Will Elder. Let me look at the credits and see if that's listed. Well, I don't see a listing. Oh no, there it is at the top. It says pictures by Will Elder. All right, then this is, I think Basil Worthington, or Worthington, or whatever you want to call him. You know, he does those distinct, ugly characters. I guess he was a religious fellow. He did a Bible adaptation and stuff. That goes for like $40 from Fantagraphics. So if you find it cheaper than that, I'd say jump on that. All right, here's more Jack Davis. Yeah, you can see what I really like about these artists. I really prefer his work in humor and his later work like on like TV guide covers and stuff like that. I prefer that to his earlier EC horror books. You know, they've got a good reputation and everything, and everybody seems to like the old horror books. But it's not really my thing. All right, now we'll go to the 60s one. Here we go. Now this should be all black and white, I'd imagine. I haven't really flipped through this yet. Let's see. Okay, here's a fake Newsweek cover. And here is Bob Clark doing the cartoons next to it. Here we go. That's a great painting, by the way. I assume it's a painting. It might be a photograph. That's pretty cool. Oh, here's a cover that must have been on the back cover. This is Al Jaffe, legendary artist who passed away a couple years ago, but I think he was over 100 years old. Give him the spotlight a bit here. Remember to turn your phone sideways. Really appreciate this stuff. Oh, this is a very famous picture. This is that Ringo Starr there. That's actually Frank Frazetta that painted that. This picture is very famous for being the launch pad for the second half of his career. The first half, he had been a ghost artist for Al Cap on, what was that strip called? Oh yeah, Alley Oop. But when people saw this painting, they reconsidered him, and he started getting all those trade paperback covers for Conan and stuff, and really like his career just relaunched because of that picture. And it's a really good picture. Obviously, the camera's not going to do it as much justice as actually seeing it in person. But all right, then I just turned one page. All right, and here's more Bob Clark. And no, they're both Bob Clark. There you go. Even that big tire one. Well, this has got a lot more color than I had assumed it would have. Alright, here's a more darker one, so I'm going to turn the page so you don't see what the title is. So, once again, feel free to guess what this movie might be. Alright, one more flip, and then I'll move on. Hold on 1 second, I'm going to get some credits here. Okay, here's another one. This was a TV show, but I really, really love this artwork. Like, look at that woman's face there. I think it's, what is that? Panel 3. That shading is fantastic. I really, really like that. So yeah, I have no regrets for buying these books and adding them to my library. Really, really great stuff. Thank you. I forget who I bought them from, but I appreciate it. That was a great deal, and it really fills my bookshelves. And that's pretty much all I have for today. So we're going to go right to the book. I'm not going to say it anymore. I think y'all know what I think of this cover. Alright, and let's flip to a random page. Alright, this is Chapter 4, The Art of Comics. Now, let's see. Alright, let's go with Kyle Baker. This is a little longer one, but I think anything Kyle Baker has to say has got to be relevant. Okay, Kyle Baker. If you do something new, nobody believes you're doing it on purpose. For instance, the stuff I'm doing now has no variation in line weight. You know how most comic books have thick lines and thin lines because they're all done with a brush? I generally use the same line weight. I've been using markers for the past 2 years. Again, nobody believes you really want to do that, and they try and teach you how to make the lines thick and thin. If they've never seen it before, you have to show them that you really meant it. Also, I'm young, and they're trying to help me out, giving me art tips, and I'm trying to sort out which ones are legitimate and which ones are which ones are them not getting it. I did Cowboy Wally that way, exactly the way I wanted to do it. It came out, and all of a sudden, everybody in comics looked at it and said, "Oh, that's what he meant. I guess he can do that." Alright, that's more food for thought. Sorry for a long one, but I thought that was an appropriate little quote there. You know, I obviously I picked these out randomly, but I followed my instincts, and I think there's a lot of Kyle Baker fans out there. Well, anyways, that's all I've got for tonight. You all have a great weekend, and I'll see you on the flip-flop.